Russell Westbrook was made out to be the NBA's ultimate villain in Los Angeles. Things had gotten so bad that Lakers fans had completely given up on him. They were begging him not to shoot and then booing him when he did. I had never seen anything like it.
Rashawn guarding LeBron, shot clock down to 3. Westbrook already hit 2, has to fire at the buzzer, all there. And the Lakers offense melting.
It wasn't just the Lakers who had given up on him. Westbrook's time with the Lakers had almost everybody thinking that he was unfixable and on his way out of the league despite still having the talent to contribute. Desperate to get anything out of their point guard spot, mid-season the Clippers would kick tires on Westbrook. As a Clipper, Westbrook showcased that he could still play a role and have big games in a crunch. The Clippers believed in Westbrook so much that when they got the chance, they'd bring in James Harden and eventually move Russell Westbrook to the bench. This is your reminder that no matter how good that you are for a team, they are always looking at upgrades. But at least with Westbrook showing that he could play a role and still pop out with the occasional big game, he would draw interest from the Denver Nuggets, and especially Nikola Jokic, who had been surprisingly pounding the table for Russ. At times this season, we've seen Russ dial back the clock and show flashes of the man who defied the odds bringing in MVP to OKC. But while we've seen some of the good with Westbrook looking the best that he's looked since leaving Washington, we've also seen the bad and the ugly.
Stay patient, stay down.
Jokic, beautiful. And Westbrook blew it!
You might just think that this is a blown layup, something that can happen to anyone, and normally you'd be right. But what you're about to see next is completely indefensible. With mere seconds remaining in double overtime, Westbrook missed a critical layup that would have given the Nuggets a 3-point lead. If you're stunned, imagine Nikola Jokic's frustration. He battled for 53 exhausting minutes, never once leaving the court in the second half, while delivering a staggering triple-double of 61 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists, with only 4 turnovers. Nikola Jokic had to be feeling worse than Jimmy Butler at the end of that finals game in the bubble, because at least Jimmy won that game. They lost the series, but Jimmy won that game. This game, Jokic set a record achieving the highest scoring triple-double in league history. But again, yet they lost. After this game, Anthony Edwards had some high praise for the back-to-back MVP, saying that he might be the best basketball player that he's ever seen close up. And you know that whatever Ant says, he means. Westbrook has looked shaky and has been failing in the clutch as we saw with that missed layup. But should that matter with Jokic being unguardable? Desperately trying to salvage their season, the once unstoppable Nuggets would smash the red panic button ahead of the playoffs, which leads us to the question, what's really going on in Denver? But first, if you're like me and you live, breathe, and occasionally dream about basketball, then you'll love Underdog's Pick'em game. For a lot of us, our fantasy seasons are over, but with Underdog, you can still get in the game. It's super easy. Just choose your favorite players, pick whether they'll go higher or lower on certain stats, and if your picks hit, you can take home some serious cash. Submitting a lineup is as easy as a wide open layup in transition. It's that straightforward. You know what, this probably wasn't the best video to make that reference, but hey, just like that, I've already got a lineup in. Visit UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app. When you do, sign up using code COOP to claim your free pick, plus first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus credits. Using code COOP is a great way to support the channel and have some extra fun while you're watching the games. Thank you, Underdog, for the sponsor. At this point, it's not even about whether Jokic is the best player in the world anymore. It's about how much longer can he keep willing this team to wins without other players on the squad stepping up. Because as of late, even historic performances from this all-time great haven't been enough to keep the team afloat. I know that we're all tired of hearing about any analytical numbers for Jokic being on the court and off of it. It's like, we get it, this guy is the GOAT. But I have to drop them here because they're pretty relevant for adding emphasis to how sad what's happening is. By the way, I don't think that Jokic is the GOAT. I was saying that sarcastically. I can already see Jokic's numbers sparking some nasty all-time conversations in the future though, and I'm going to be here for all of it. I just love to talk hoops. That's why you guys see me in the comments section sometimes responding to some of the most outlandish statements. So according to NBA.com, the Nuggets have an offensive rating of 125.3 when Jokic is on the court, as opposed to 104.4 when he's off of the court. That's basically the difference between having an offense that's better than the Cleveland Cavaliers and having an offense that's worse than the Washington Wizards. That's a big difference. The Nuggets are slightly better on defense when he's off of the floor, but he's such a problem offensively that they still produce a net rating of 9.6 when he's on the court. That's an 18.6 point difference as compared to when he's off of the floor. To nobody's surprise, the Nuggets are much better when their back-to-back MVP is playing. Having a player this talented can actually be dangerous if your coach lacks skills or the roster depth needed, because they'll lean heavily on their star to cover those shortcomings. And that's exactly what we saw happen against the Timberwolves. In case you missed what I said earlier, Jokic didn't leave the court once after halftime. He played an exhausting 40 consecutive minutes in a double overtime thriller. That's a lot of consecutive minutes for a regular season game. I felt terrible for both Westbrook and Jokic after this game. Jokic would get a historic night wasted, meanwhile Westbrook would get the blame for wasting it. With their game against the Timberwolves being the first night of a back-to-back, the Nuggets would scratch Jokic and several other key players except Russell Westbrook for their next game. This game had all of the makings of the ultimate Westbrook comeback story. There were no distractions, there were no heavy expectations. There would just be Russ being Russ without worrying about the consequences. Statistically, Russell Westbrook delivered a vintage performance of 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists. But once again, the narrative would flip against him due to a costly missed layup in crunch time and decision-making that added chaos when his team needed something steady. Sadly, this would end up being another loss for the Nuggets. This poor stretch from the Nuggets would turn into a disappointing losing streak. Amid this losing streak, Russ would do his best to avoid the media, but eventually he had to say something.
You guys need to clean up right now and get right before the end of the regular season.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Your coach just mentioned the urgency of the situation, trying to avoid the play-in right now. Do you feel like in this locker room there's a sense of urgency?
I don't know, man. Not sure.
People hated these responses from Russ. It was clear that he was trying to do the whole Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I don't get fined bit, but they took it as him just being a bad vet. The frustration with Russ is real. You could blame Russ for his poor play and bad decision making down the stretch, but at the same time, you have to ask yourself, why are the Denver Nuggets relying so heavily on a 36-year-old veteran minimum point guard that is known for his volatility, especially when they have Nikola Jokic, a 3-time MVP who is hungry for more success? At least second-year playmaker Jalen Pickett is coming along for the Nuggets, but he's still a work in progress. Considering his contract, Russ has been an amazing signing for the Nuggets, injecting energy that has shifted the team's dynamic. But Denver's complacency in settling for Westbrook and Saric as their major offseason additions while the rest of the Western Conference significantly upgraded was always going to place an even heavier burden on Nikola Jokic's shoulders. It's not like the Nuggets were some unbeatable juggernaut last year. They collapsed in the second round to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This team needed to get better. This team confidently stuck to their strategy at the trade deadline, boldly choosing to sit back, relax, and watch the rest of the league improve without them. LeBron James got Luka Doncic, Steph Curry got Jimmy Butler, Victor Wembanyama got De'Aaron Fox. What did Nikola Jokic get? Nothing. He didn't get any offensive help like a Zach LaVine. What you're probably thinking, Coop, the Nuggets are a top-rated offense that's scoring 120.7 points per game. Why would they need more help there? Well, they're a top-rated offense because remember that Nikola Jokic literally drags them to being one. Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are nice pieces, but they're different players without Jokic and have been unreliable in their own right. We're not even sure if Jamal Murray is going to be 100% in the playoffs right now. That is a huge deal for this team. He couldn't get any defensive help either, something that this team could definitely use. They couldn't even get our guy Jokic a solid backup big like Nick Richards, so now he's relying on a 36-year-old DeAndre Jordan who's probably spending his timeouts wondering how he got in this mess. DJ signed for the vibes. I don't think that this man was expecting to play real minutes this year. Deron Holmes got injured in the summer, so they could have found a decent Jokic backup a long time ago. I always tell the Lakers to give Dwight a call, but what about the Nuggets? Why don't they at least give Boogie a call? If you could talk Boogie into returning, you could probably get some decent minutes out of him. Do I still think that the Nuggets are contenders? Yes. When you have Nikola Jokic, anything is possible. But at the same time, I'm not liking what I've been seeing or hearing.
It was a brutally honest message, and the guys that are fully won't hear it. You know, they'll say coach is tripping. And the guys that maybe do really care will, because they're not going to go back and watch their minutes, because nobody watches their minutes, nobody watches film. So we'll have to show them the film.
This sounded like Coach Malone being brutally honest about his team. He'd say this and then get fired shortly after doing so. We thought that the Grizzlies were crazy, when the Nuggets are saying whatever they can do, we can do even better. We're breaking down that Grizzly situation soon, so be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Malone had spoke on the firing of Taylor Jenkins too, saying that for Taylor to get fired at this stage of the season and for them to be where they are is really shocking and odd. I just can't wrap my head around it. What were the chances of Malone saying this and then being next? Anyone who's followed the Nuggets over the years knew that Malone's tenure there was coming to an end. Still, what an incredible run that he had. At 252 wins, he has the most wins for a head coach over the last 5 seasons. They also won a championship, which is nice. It's pretty scary though that 4 of the last 6 title-winning head coaches have now been fired. Nick Nurse won in 2019, Frank Vogel won in 2020, Mike Budenholzer won in 2021, and Mike Malone won most recently in 2023. Shout out to Underdog for bringing this to my attention. According to Shams, Malone would have been fired in 2023 had they not won a championship due to the conflict between him and Calvin Booth, who, by the way, was also fired. You just don't see a coach and GM get fired days before the playoffs are about to start. Here's what the Nuggets owner would have to say about this whole ordeal. While the timing of this decision is unfortunate, which I wonder who made the decision, as Coach Malone helped build the foundation of our now championship level program, it is a necessary step to allow us to compete at the highest level right now. Championship level standards and expectations remain in place for the current season, and as we look towards the future, we look forward to building on the foundation laid by Coach Malone over his record-breaking 10 years in Denver. Play hard and have fun. The Nuggets owner is a savage, and I don't know if I love it or hate it yet. This whole thing is insane. These firings couldn't have come at a worse time for the Nuggets. Interim head coach David Adelman is definitely going to have his work cut out for him. Let me know how you guys feel about Westbrook, the Nuggets, and this whole situation down in the comments below. Anyways guys, there's some more going on in the basketball world that I need to be covering. So clicking the video on the screen right now and using code COOP for Underdog are both great ways to support this channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.